Thank you for joining with me again in this next video of our exploration of A Course in Miracles. In these videos, we read a section of the text. And so in this video, we're still in chapter 18 and we're looking at section 8. And then we practice a lesson together. Today's lesson will be lesson 22. And then we look at a principle of miracles, and unless something else comes up to grab our attention, we'll be looking at principle number 40. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will see what the text has in store for us today. You know what? I'm just going to go and move my little window here of myself. I wonder if that makes a difference. Do this. And then escape this. Okay, so what I've noticed that even though I move this little window of myself around, somehow it resets itself and my head is chopped off on a lot of the videos. But I want you to know that I do my best every time to not chop my own head off. Right. Okay, so we are in chapter 18, section 8, the little garden. That sounds lovely. All right, so paragraph 1. It is only the awareness of the body that makes love seem limited, for the body is a limit on love. The belief in limited love was its origin, and it was made to limit the unlimited. Think not that this is merely allegorical, for it was made to limit you. Can you who see yourself within a body know yourself as an idea? Everything you recognize, you identify with externals, something outside itself. You cannot even think of God without a body, or in some form you think you recognize. Yeah, it's true. We can't, because our minds only know that which is outside of itself through itself, right? It can't know what it it can't know beyond itself. I'm fascinated by this description, which is so succinct. The body's origin is the belief in limited love. The body's origin is the belief in limited love. So, in order for the body to exist, it's suggesting that there must be a belief in limited love, in conditional love. And so, once unconditional, true unconditional, abiding unconditional love is realized, there will be no need for the body. The body's function will be over. Okay, so let's continue with paragraph 2. The body cannot know. And while you limit your awareness to its tiny senses, you will not see the grandeur that surrounds you. God cannot come into a body, nor can you join him there. Limits on love will always seem to shut him out and keep you apart from him. The body is a tiny fence around a little part of a glorious and complete idea. It draws a circle, infinitely small, around a very little segment of heaven, splintered from the whole, proclaiming that within it is your kingdom, where God can enter not. Goodness. Okay, so God cannot enter a body. God cannot enter a body. So what does that suggest then? Does that suggest that God's reach is only to the part of us that is eternal? We're kind of getting a sense of the anatomy of how it works, right? That we are connected to God through the great rays. We've met that lexicon before. So we're connected to God through the great rays. And then there's this part of the eternal self, which in itself seems like a contradiction, a part of the eternal. But somehow the belief in separation is powerful enough to prevent its true realization. And so it seems like the consciousness that is interacting through the small five senses only knows reality through the five senses. And so the body is a interpretation device. And it can only interpret reality that is the same or like vibration to itself. It cannot perceive that which is beyond itself. But what can perceive beyond itself is consciousness. Consciousness can expand beyond the body and to connect with something much more subtle and more true. All right, let's go to paragraph 3. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. So within this kingdom, the ego rules, and cruelly. And to defend this little speck of dust, it bids you fight against the universe. This fragment of your mind is such a tiny part of it that, could you but appreciate the whole, you would see instantly that it is like the smallest sunbeam to the sun, or like the faintest ripple on the surface of the ocean. In its amazing arrogance, this tiny sunbeam has decided it is the sun. This almost imperceptible ripple hails itself as the ocean. Think how alone and frightened is this little thought, this infinitesimal illusion, holding itself apart against the universe. The sun becomes the sunbeam's enemy that would devour it, and the ocean terrifies the little ripple and wants to swallow it. Right, because the ego has a border and a boundary. The ego is the I, and the I is something that needs to survive and it needs to be defended in order to be successful in that survival. It's so amazing. So when somebody is on a spiritual path, is really, looking for truth, it's a paradox, it's a conflict, because there is the part that is seeking the all, the oneness, the void, but in order for there to be oneness, to be the void, to be nothingness, then that would mean the ego, the I, ceases to exist, and that is terrifying. That is a terrifying thought. So all of this is constructed to be an act of defense. And as an act of defense, it also inherently is designed for attack. But this imagery is so beautiful and a wonderful thing for us to have. All right, I'm going to go back to share the screen for paragraph 4. Yet neither sun nor ocean is even aware of all of this strange and meaningless activity. They merely continue unaware that they are feared and hated by a tiny segment of themselves. Even that segment is not lost to them, for it could not survive apart from them. And what it thinks it is in no way changes its total dependence on them for its being. Its whole existence still remains in them. Without the sun, the sunbeam would be gone. The ripple without the ocean is inconceivable. Yeah, that's very clear. So let's continue for paragraph 5. Such is the strange position in which those in a world inhabited by bodies seem to be. Each body seems to house a separate mind, a disconnected thought, living alone and in no way joined to the thought by which it was created. Each tiny fragment seems to be self-contained, needing another for some things, but by no means totally dependent on its one creator for everything, needing the whole to give it any meaning. For by itself it does mean nothing, nor has it any life apart and by itself. Yeah. And so here really we're being reminded that we cannot exist outside of God. That all that's happening is that there's this tiny little fence, this tiny little the film that has us in this belief through the I concept that we are separate from God, that we are separate from everything. It's cute, actually. Oh. Okay, paragraph 6. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Like to the sun and ocean, your self continues unmindful that this tiny part regards itself as you. It is not missing. It could not exist if it were separate, nor would the whole be whole without it. It is not a separate kingdom ruled by an idea of separation from the rest, nor does a fence surround it, preventing it from joining with the rest and keeping it apart from its creator. This little aspect is no different from the whole, being continuous with it and at one with it. It leads no separate life because its life is the oneness in which its being was created. Let's continue to paragraph 7. Do not accept this little fenced-off aspect as yourself. The sun and ocean are as nothing beside what you are. The sunbeam sparkles only in the sunlight, and the ripple dances as it rests upon the ocean. Yet in neither sun nor ocean is the power that rests in you. Would you remain with your tiny kingdom, a sorry king, a bitter ruler of all that he surveys, who looks on nothing, yet who would still die to defend it? Wow. This little self is not your kingdom. Arched high above it and surrounding it with love is the glorious whole, which offers all its happiness and deep content to every part. The little aspect that you think you set apart is no exception. Let's continue, shall we? Paragraph 8. Love knows no bodies and reaches to everything created like itself. Its total lack of limit is its meaning. It is completely impartial in its giving, encompassing only to preserve and keep complete what it would give. In your tiny kingdom, you have so little. Should it not then be there that you could call on love to enter? Look at the desert, dry and unproductive, scorched and joyless, that makes up your little kingdom, and realize the life and joy that love would bring to it from where it comes and where it would return with you. Paragraph 9. The thought of God surrounds your little kingdom, waiting at the barrier you built to come inside and shine upon the barren ground. See how life springs up everywhere. The desert becomes a garden, green and deep and quiet, offering rest to those who lost their way and wander in the dust. Give them a place of refuge, prepared by love for them, where once a desert was. And everyone you welcome will bring love with him from heaven for you. They enter one by one into this holy place, but they will not depart as they had come alone. The love they brought with them will stay with them, as it will stay with you. And under its beneficence, your little garden will expand and reach out to everyone who thirsts for living water, but has grown too weary to go on alone. The living water. Wow, I can even feel my thirst being quenched by this picture that's being painted for us from the comparison between the dry desert and the lush garden. So what I'm wondering now is, so what's the part inside of us at this point that would have us continue choosing smallness? It's just a thought that's coming to me. Let's continue with the text to see where it takes us from here. But what is it? What's inside that keeps us in the desert, that keeps us thirsty, that keeps us alone and afraid? All right, paragraph 10. Go out and find them. for they bring yourself with them. And lead them gently to your quiet garden and receive their blessing there. So it will grow and stretch across the desert, leaving no lonely little kingdom locked away from love and leaving you inside. And you will recognize yourself and see your little garden gently transformed into the kingdom of heaven with all the love of its creator shining upon it. These images are so beautiful. And I think this is where the gift of imagination really is a grace, where we can use the imagination to connect with the original intent, the nuances, the essence, the true essence of what this is trying to convey. Okay, let's carry on. Paragraph 11. The holy instant is your invitation to love to enter into your bleak and joyless kingdom and to transform it into a garden of peace and welcome. Love's answer is inevitable. It will come because you came without the body and interposed no barriers to interfere with its glad coming. In the holy instant, you ask of love only what it offers everyone, neither less nor more. Asking for everything, you will receive it, and your shining self will lift the tiny aspect that you tried to hide from heaven straight to heaven. No part of love calls on the whole in vain. No son of God remains outside his fatherhood. Paragraph 12. Be sure of this. Love has entered your special relationship and entered fully at your weak request. You do not recognize that love has come because you have not yet let go of all the barriers you hold against your brother. And you and he will not be able to give love welcome separately. You could no more know God alone than he knows you without your brother. But together you could no more be unaware of love than love could know you not, or fail to recognize itself in you. And so just to turn that around, because we have a bunch of double negatives in there. So it says in the affirmative, together you are wholly aware of love as love knows and recognizes itself in you. I thought it was important to translate that. Okay, let's continue for paragraph 13. The last one. You have reached the end of an ancient journey, not realizing yet that it is over. You're still worn and tired, and the desert's dust still seems to cloud your eyes and keep you sightless. Yet he whom you welcomed has come to you and would welcome you. He has waited long to give you this. Receive it now of him, for he would have you know him. Only a little wall of dust still stands between you and your brother. Blow on it lightly and with happy laughter, and it will fall away. And walk into the garden love has prepared for both of you. I wonder if that would help even to just imagine that there is this little pile of dust that is keeping us from seeing the whole truth about who and each other are. And with our small willingness, we blow it away so that we can enter into this new moment with clarity of sight, clarity of mind, open hearts. Okay, how spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to go back now to the workbook for students. We are at lesson 22. Oh, and I'm going to let the narrator read this for us. Lesson 22.
Lesson 22. What I see is a form of vengeance. Today's idea accurately describes the way anyone who holds attack thoughts in his mind must see the world. Having projected his anger onto the world, he sees vengeance about to strike at him. His own attack is thus perceived as self-defense. This becomes an increasingly vicious circle until he is willing to change how he sees. Otherwise, thoughts of attack and counterattack will preoccupy him and people his entire world. What peace of mind is possible to him then? It is from this savage fantasy that you want to escape. Is it not joyous news to hear that it is not real? Is it not a happy discovery to find that you can escape? You made what you would destroy, everything that you hate and would attack and kill. All that you fear does not exist. Look at the world about you at least 5 times today for at least a minute each time. As your eyes move slowly from one object to another, from one body to another, say to yourself, I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. What I see is not real. What I see is a form of vengeance. At the end of each practice period, ask yourself, is this the world I really want to see? The answer is surely obvious.
Okay, wow. So let us prepare ourselves for practicing the lesson by just checking in. Just check in with the unconditional love and support that's here, as the chair that's holding you, as the floor that's holding you in just the right amount, as the air that's holding you. And just bring your attention home here to the body, just acknowledging its border, its boundary, its circumference, even acknowledging that it's through these eyes that I look out into the world, and just acknowledging that it is at this, that it is through these eyes at your perfect height, with your unique point of view, that you gaze out into this world. Go ahead, if it feels right for you, to just exhale the waste wind, releasing the past, using the inhale then to breathe in, to bring in peace, the grace, support of this now moment. And with this practice period, we are practicing with eyes open. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again so that you can read the language. So as we look around, moving eyes slowly from one object to another, from one body to another, we're saying to ourselves, I see only the perishable. I see nothing that will last. What I see is not real. What I see is a form of vengeance. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. Okay, that's the end of our timer. And so we're just going to remind ourselves, is this the world I really want to see? And so the suggested practice periods are 5 times during the day. I usually recommend to practice around mealtime, and you can also practice the extra 2 periods that are like morning tea and afternoon tea. It's worthwhile to set reminders on your phone. And again, we're entering these practices without an expectation, doing our best to just be curious and just bringing a curiosity to the practice to then observe if there's any resistance or any other ahas that might arise out of the practice period. The last little sentence feels like a shock a bit, don't you think? What I see is a form of vengeance. So I can feel a resistance arising in that, especially when our gaze falls upon someone that we really love or something that we consider to be really beautiful. So yes, I can see how that could be, a little bit of a head tilt, a little nose twitch. But essentially, what this is saying is what I see is a form of vengeance because we're allying ourselves with that which is perishable, that which is not real. And this brings us back to the very first stanza that the Course in Miracles starts with. We can go back to that if you like. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen so we can look at it together. So we're going back to the home. We'll go to the preface. How it came, what it is, what it says, what it says. Yeah, okay. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And so nothing real can be threatened. And so what the lesson is having us do is gaze and acknowledge that what we see is perishable, is finite, is temporary. And so if it's temporary, according to this initial stanza, then it can be threatened. But what this stanza is saying is nothing real can be threatened. So therefore, what we are seeing can't be real, at least not in the way that the Course interprets or uses the word real. And then it says nothing unreal exists. So only that which is real, that which cannot be threatened, exists, and herein lies the peace of God. Okay, let's come back to the text for our meaning of miracles, the principles of miracles. We're going to scroll down to number 40. The miracle acknowledges everyone as your brother and mine. It is a way of perceiving the universal mark of God. Wow. Okay, and so you might want to screenshot that and look at it every so often throughout the day and contemplate that and bring that into the world as if that is true, especially as you are practicing today's lesson. All right, so I'm going to finish here by reminding you again to check out the alilacenter.org website for registration links for the mindfulness-based meditation class, which is on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern, and also for the meditation and natural healing self-help, which is on the fourth Monday of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern. All right, have a spectacular day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again.